Hey gang, welcome back to another installment of The Nightmare Room, episode number 9, right here on YouTube.com. I am your host, Nick Nightmare, as always, bringing you the news in sports and pro wrestling. We got some stuff to talk about, including the World Series, Hell in a Cell this weekend, and we're going to give our quick thoughts on this week's Raw and Smackdown. So let's get into it. Thank you once again for tuning in, everybody. Don't forget, if you're watching us right now and you're listening to this, please hit that like button. It's very important to me. I need you to do that. Makes me know that you like what I'm doing and that I should keep on trucking and bringing you the best that I can right here on YouTube. Also, if you have not done so already, please subscribe. If you have not, hit the subscribe and you keep coming back for more. There's no better way to know when the new stuff is coming out with notifications through YouTube. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Let's grow together and become a force in the world of sports and pro wrestling. Little shameless self-promotion right now. We are doing our own wrestling show using WWE 2K17 as a creative outlet. We have taken over Monday Night Raw, and we are calling it SledgeHammer Championship Wrestling, and we're taking over Raw. I'm going to have a draft. I've had a draft, and I have exclusive superstars. I got rid of some of them that were not drafted, so I don't have over 100 superstars coming in, running in, interfering. It's very interesting. The gameplay is it's very unpredictable, and it could cause for some crazy moments, and a lot of stuff that you might not want to happen is going to happen, but it makes for a more fun show because the unpredictability is going to cause me to wing it with my creative angles and what I'm trying to do. Guarantee that you will enjoy SCW Raw way more than WWE Monday Night Raw because that show is complete trash. I'm calling the matches. Episode number 0 is up. It is episode number 0 because we're holding a tournament to see if we can get the WWE Championship away from Dean Ambrose. And we're going to try to find the best man to do that through the drafting that I did. I used a random generating name picker that I found online and chose 8 names from the Raw roster. 8 names that are very surprising. If you want to check it out, it's up there. I will leave a link in the description below. SCW Raw episode number 0, the tournament for a chance at the title, right here on YouTube.com. And that's enough of that. We're going to get into the news. Let's start with some baseball because the World Series has been going on, and it's been a good one. Cubs, Indians, Game 4 tonight on Fox. The Cleveland Indians leading it 2-1. The Cubbies last game, just couldn't get their bats going, losing a heartbreaking 1-0 shutout. After some tremendous pitching from both the Cubs starters and the Cleveland bullpen just came out and just shut that team down. It was very impressive for the Cleveland Indians. Although my heart is rooting for the Cubs, it looks like it might be a tough mountain to climb as good pitching will defeat great hitting 99 times out of 100, which is what makes baseball such a hard game to play. Tonight, for the Cubs, on the mound we got John Lackey going up against Corey Kluber for the Tribe. Can the Cubs tie it up at 2 games tonight at Wrigley Field? I'm going to tune in and check it out, and so should you. By the time you guys are listening to this, the game will probably be over, and we'll all know what has happened. Let's move on to our wrestling portion of the show, which is going to take up probably the rest of the show, as we got a pretty big weekend coming up in Hell in a Cell. I'm not excited about it. Not in the least. We're going to go over the match card in a minute. Before we do that, we're going to go over the go-home show, which was Monday Night Raw. We didn't do a review this week because I just didn't have the strength, and I didn't want to come on here and start spewing hate because Raw was fucking abysmal. It was the worst Raw that I have had to put myself through in quite some time. And I didn't want to come back on here and talk about it. And we're not. That's the last you're going to hear of it. It was the worst Raw of the year. A terrible go-home show. More of the same old nonsense. And I don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. And neither do they. And it's very clear each and every Monday night. For 3 draining, mentally, physically draining hours where I am fighting to stay awake and alert. Because after working 11 hours in a day and trying to come home and unwind, watch a little wrestling, it's a little tough to do when they're slowly lulling me to sleep by doing absolutely nothing. Raw sucked very badly, and that's the end of it. I'm going to move on to the bright spot of the week, which was Smackdown, who continues to do each and everything that a wrestling fan would love. The only downside to Smackdown is its roster. Like, it's hard for a lot of people to get invested in these guys for some reason. I have my favorites. I have the ones I like. You know, Bray Wyatt is one of them. But again, he's being used very weird. And I don't understand where they're going with this whole thing. Smackdown, real quickly, we're going to run through a fast review of the show. Bray Wyatt versus Kane opened the show. Actually opened the show with some wrestling. Fantastic. But Kane, again, you know, my head's just like, whatever. And they, you know, proceed to put on an entertaining match, but that's not the story. The story comes at the end when Randy Orton comes out, and we all assume he's going to attack the Wyatts, but he turns around and RKO's Kane. He'd later come out in the show and say some cryptic nonsense, you know, if you can't beat him, join him. Randy Orton's not joining the Wyatt family. It's just mind games. He's the Viper. This is what he does. He's playing with another master in mind game chess, whatever, however you want to describe it. And this is his move. And he's going to make the Wyatts believe that he's falling under their spell. And then he's going to strike. And I don't know when that's going to be. There's rumors saying he's not going to be around for the Survivor Series, and he's not even going to be on the team because his pregnant wife is due just 2 days after the show. But that remains to be seen. It certainly looks like they don't know quite what they're doing with Randy Orton, and they're kind of leaving him just in the middle so that if he has to leave, he can leave. That's what it feels like to me, anyway. We had Becky Lynch's return to SmackDown, and just as we were about to get some little bit of an inkling, even though her accent is hard to listen to and sometimes hard to decipher, I was looking forward to some sort of an explanation, but we get Alexa Bliss, 5 feet of pure mayhem, just coming out to the ring to mess it up, and she put Becky Lynch on blast, showcasing her awesome mic skills as opposed to Becky's, which still needs some work, but, you know, I'm not down on her by any means. I love Becky Lynch. She's a beautiful woman. She's fantastic in the ring, which is what's most important. And, you know, everybody has to have a weak point, and that's her weak point. And it's worth it to me. I don't care about her stupid accent, and even if I know what she's saying, because I know what she's saying when she's in between the ropes. And that is why I tune in the first place. That's what we keep saying. We want wrestling. Becky Lynch is a wrestler. She don't need to talk. She can talk with her fists, like she does. And will do, probably, to Alexa when they face each other on the November 8th episode of SmackDown coming to us from Glasgow, Scotland in just a few weeks. We had the Hype Bros go over against the Ascension. This upset me. You know, I'm just not a Mojo Rawley guy. I'm not into the whole Hype Bros. I love Zack Ryder, but I hate that he's on this team. And I'm not a Mojo Rawley guy. I don't get hype. I don't stay hype. I'm actually very mellow, and I don't like to be hyped, and I don't want to get angry. But he makes me angry just from being on my screen. I don't like Mojo Rawley. I do, however, love the Ascension. I've loved them since they were in NXT, and they've continued to be squashed further and further, no matter which show they are on. But, be that as it may, the Hype Bros win this match and qualify to be on the SummerSlam Tag Team, Survivor Series Tag Team Elimination match that will feature the tag team divisions of each respective show. I would have much rather it have been the Ascension, but that's just me, apparently. The WWE don't like them as much as I do. Nikki Bella beats Natalya and becomes the captain of the women's team. However, because she lost, Natalya is now not allowed on the team, which again is a strange booking to me because, I don't know who else is going to be on this team. What do they have, like 6 broads? And now you took Natty out of the mix? I don't know what they're doing. But I loved a lot of this show. It may not be coming off like that, but the whole point is they are building towards the next pay-per-view. They're having matches that have ramifications that mean something. Nikki Bella went out there and that captain's spot was on the line, and it wouldn't have mattered who she went in the ring with. She would have taken her out because she wants to be the captain of the women's team. I don't know what that's going to entail. Is she going to be allowed to pick the rest of the team? Maybe she'll forgive Natalya and allow her on the team. I don't know. That's for them to come up with. Everything I come up with, you guys will see on SCW right here on the Sledgehammer Sports Network. Heath Slater and Rhino beat the Spirit Squad. This was the one real big hiccup of the whole show. I could care less about this whole thing. The Spirit Squad should be gone already. They should have came and left and never been seen again. I don't want to see them on Smackdown anymore. But with the lack of a tag team division, I don't expect them to really be going anywhere at all, as they're probably just using them to try to fill out the division because the Headbangers certainly didn't do it and weren't even worth it. Were they? I didn't care about them then, so I certainly don't give a shit about them now. And the main event of SmackDown was AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose. If Dean Ambrose won this match, he was going to get a shot at AJ's title, the WWE Heavyweight title. But AJ would defeat Dean Ambrose, albeit via disqualification, due to the unintentional interference by James Ellsworth, who continues to become a breakout star despite his face on the WWE, on SmackDown. And this is the beauty of SmackDown, and this is what makes me like SmackDown. Not that I'm a James Ellsworth fan, but they made James Ellsworth a bigger star than every single person on the Raw roster. The universe cares about what's happening with this guy. Do they care about Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins? No. And that's what we're going to go to next. We are now going to talk about Hell in a Cell. And once again, my feelings go from one end of the spectrum to the other, because these matches, under any other circumstances, or with even a slight amount of proper build, would probably be getting me really hyped up. How could you not be excited to see a guy like Kevin Owens in a Hell in a Cell against anybody? Because nobody likes Kevin Owens. Why? Because he's fat? Because he's ugly? I don't know what the problem is. Neither one of those things matter. It's the same thing like we talked about with Becky Lynch. You're going to pick out these people's flaws? For what? When they get in the ring, that's all that matters. The way they perform. What they do to their bodies. And to the other people. For us. To sit there and watch and take in. And it's disrespectful to blame Kevin Owens for the failures on Monday Night Raw because of his physical appearance. And that's what's happening. Kevin Owens is getting a lot of heat for everything that's going wrong on Raw because he's not a good champion. But how can he be a good champion when you're not featuring the belt? This weekend, we got tomorrow actually, just about 24 hours away by this time, today, Saturday. We're going to have Hell in a Cell, and nobody cares about the Universal title because the whole feud has been built around Chris Jericho and his friendship with Kevin Owens and the list, which I love. I love the list. It's fucking fantastic. But the fact that he was able to get that over and it took center stage away from the Universal title, it's sickening. It's a sickening thing to see. Almost how fickle the casual fan is, that they want to see and hear who's on the list and who's going to be next on the list more than they want to see Kevin Owens, who's carrying around that ridiculous red belt, which could pretty much just be in the trash because it's not worth anything. They're not making it seem important. Nobody cares about the title, and this Hell in a Cell match means nothing. The same can hold true for Roman Reigns and Rusev inside the Hell in a Cell. No, this build is totally backwards. If everything that has happened up until this point leading into Hell in a Cell played itself out reverse, it probably would make more sense. This rivalry has been built off of a stupid wedding, and then Rusev disappeared for his 90-day honeymoon and his 7 weddings and all the times he wanted to bang Lana in the ass, and he was gone with the United States Championship, and then you bring him back and, this whole thing with Roman Reigns continued, and it's just gotten horrendous. It's gotten to the point where he's bringing up family photos. I don't care. I haven't cared since the beginning of this feud. I'm not going to care now. If I ever see them wrestle again after this Hell in a Cell, what's the point of this Hell in a Cell? If you remember what Hell in a Cell is about, it's about the finality of a feud, and that's not happening in any of our 3 examples that we will have. 3 Hell in a Cell matches. Ridiculous. The third one being Sasha and Charlotte, which is being highly debated amongst the internet wrestling community and apparently within the WWE itself, as Vince himself does not want this match to end the show. He's against the women ending the show for whatever his reasoning is. I'm against it as well, only because I don't want them to go out there and kill each other. So, the expectations are going to be that high. What is she going to do? She's going to have no choice but to go off the top of the cage. She's talking about having something spectacular planned. Charlotte keeps talking shit about doing something big. I don't want her to do nothing big. I want her to go in the ring and wrestle. I don't need high spots, flash monkey shots, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Unnecessary. And one of these girls are going to get hurt, and then these guys are going to look foolish because they want to make history, and all you're making is terrible. It's terrible. That's all you're making is terrible, terrible things happen to these people and to us, because we're going to have to witness this. And let me just say this about the whole situation here. If they want to make it historic, all they have to do is look back 20 years ago. And if Nia Jax does not come out and break her way into this Hell in a Cell and completely lay waste to these 2 girls in there and proclaim herself as the most dominant female in all of pro wrestling, and finally, because you have this window to do this and make her look the way she needs to look and have her be a beast and just come out and show everybody you want history. History has arrived. Its name is Nia Jax. And if that does not happen, then they are nothing but failures at creating new stars. There could be nothing bigger or better for that match. And that would be the most that they could pay tribute to Hell in a Cell, is by doing that. And that's all we're going to say. And we're going to move on. What else going on that match besides on that card, match-wise, for Hell in a Cell, at the TD Garden in Boston, Massachusetts, tomorrow night. New Day versus Cesaro and Sheamus for the tag titles. Who cares? TJ Perkins versus Brian Kendrick for the Cruiserweight title. This is the only match on the card that's got even the slightest bit of a build at all, because they've been jabbing at each other backstage. That's what we're getting. Insults and stupid little quibs in the locker room. Never mind highly contested matches between each other, interfering in each other's matches, being rivals. No, we're gonna give them 3 minutes to talk backstage, and then 4 minutes we're gonna let them wrestle on the show. Cruiserweights don't matter. They don't matter to the WWE. It's obvious in the way they're being booked and featured on Raw. And they're gonna have let's give them a round of applause. They're gonna have 2 cruiserweight matches on this pay-per-view. But the second one they decided to put on the kickoff show, because everybody watches the kickoff show. So let's highlight 6 of the greatest cruiserweights in the world when nobody's fucking watching. Brilliant maneuver. What else is on the card? Enzo and Cass versus the Club. Again, nobody cares. And if the Club does not win this match, it shows that they have no idea what they're doing with Gallows and Anderson, and that they should just go back to New Japan and be done with this company, because Enzo and Cass don't need a win. At least not as badly as the club do. They've been made to look foolish at every turn. They need to come out here and pound the face tag team into the ground. Let them come out, do their mic thing, because they're going to do that every week, and the reaction is going to be exactly the same. They are going to lose nothing as far as popularity, merchandising. They're standing on the show by losing to a team like Gallows and Anderson. But I highly doubt that's going to happen, which is only going to highlight how much they have their heads in their asses over there. We have Bayley being wasted against Dana Brooke, Miss Piggy, Miss Botch. Nobody wants to see Dana Brooke. And while we're on it, not that I like to give her any credit, but she used to look decent, you know? But now she looks like a fucking sausage being stuffed into a casing too small. What are these outfits she's coming out with? She looks like a fat pig. She looks even more like Miss Piggy. And she used to have a decent body, you know? Not one that I would be attracted to. It was always thick and muscular. But, you know, she actually had tone and a physique. And looked a little bit imposing. But now, she just looks like a hot dog. And I don't want to see her. And this match with Bayley is probably going to be terrible. I hope they prove me wrong. And then we have, as we discussed just a minute ago, the 6-man Cruiserweight Tag Team match. Tony the Beast Nese, because this guy, that's not his name. I gave him that name. Well, actually, anybody who has seen this guy will know Tony Nese is an absolute beast. And he's teaming up with Drew Gulak, who he's been teaming up with recently lately, and Arya Daivari 2.0, Sean Daivari's little brother, versus Cedric Alexander, Lince Dorado, the Golden Lynx, and Sin Cara. An interesting tag team, to say the least, and if they give these guys more than 5 minutes, even during the pre-show, which tends to be lame now since Jerry the King Lawler has been put on it, I hate it now. I actually did used to enjoy the pre-show. You know, we had Corey Graves' insight, we had Booker T, they brought Lita to the mix, even Scott Stanford doesn't bother me. But the King sucks on the pre-show. He uses it as a non-stop platform for really cheesy, really bad comedy, and I hate it. And he makes me not watch the show. So I'm going to have to watch on mute, at least, just to get through the show and hope we get more than 5 minutes out of this 6-man Cruiserweight match. That's my, Hell in a Cell in a nutshell. It's not drawing me in. Like, even trying to talk about it to you guys now. I have no words that I could use to properly amp this thing up or hype it or tell you have to watch, because you don't. I don't see anything changing at all on this show. I have a feeling we're going to tune in Monday night. All the champions will be the same, with possibly the exception of Brian Kendrick, which only means if he wins, that Creative has no faith in TJ Perkins to get over, even though he's slowly starting to get there. And they want to put the title on a more recognizable and more historically valued face, being the Brian Kendrick, which I'm not opposed to, because I'm a big fan of Brian Kendrick. He should have, if this is what you were going to do, he should have won the tournament straight out. And you should have had the division have him take the lead of the division as the heel, just taking on all these babyface type cruiserweights, because they all kind of come off a little bit babyface, and he would be leading the charge and taking on all comers and putting on 10 to 15 minute matches, not this 3 to 5 bullshit. And anytime you decide to show us more or give them more than 4 minutes, you only still show us about 4 minutes because you throw a commercial in the mix. And that's why I hate the WWE on Raw and what they're doing to the cruiserweights right now. And I don't expect to see it change. In fact, the only time any change will come is, as CM Punk said, when Vince McMahon leaves this world. We will not be as graphic as Punk was, because I don't hate Vince McMahon. He's just old. The man's 70 years old. He's out of touch. He's been doing this for 30 years. He's got people underneath him that do nothing but tell him everything he says is a great idea. And they're just going to do what the boss says. I would like to believe that I would like to push the envelope, but, when you're getting paid and you got a cushy spot and you're secure in a company like that, like, why'd you rub anybody the wrong way? So yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a great idea, sir. Go ahead, let's do that. These creative jerk-offs have no idea what they're doing anymore. And the problem with that comes from the fact that if anybody's ever seen a WWE job posting online, which, some people like to look, and I do, and when they have a position in the creative, at any position, they have emphasized in the ad itself, that fans of the product are not welcome. Maybe not in those words, but that's what they're saying. If you're a fan and you watch the show and you know the show, we don't want you to come be part of this team. And that's probably because they think you're going to play favorites because you like Kevin Owens, so you're going to write exclusively for Kevin Owens. Or maybe they just think that all of us fans are fucking mindless idiots and they don't want a fan on the creative. And that's what you need. Somebody who actually loves and cares about this business, and cares about the superstars, and cares about the stories, and cares about the show, not just the ratings and the money. Because when that's all you care about, you become WCW Monday Nitro. And that's what Raw's become. It's become a bad episode of Nitro every week, featuring the top talent in the business, not the B-card promotion that WCW was. This is the top talent in the business, and your flagship show sucks consistently. And something's got to change, and maybe that's it. Maybe when Vince finally steps down, that'll be when things start to look up. Because how could Triple H be doing so well with NXT and things like the Cruiserweight Classic, which he's producing, and then has absolutely no pull and no say on Raw because of guys like Kevin Dunn and Vince McMahon, who view the world the way they viewed it 30 years ago when they were doing this job then? And I don't understand it. It's just not working. It's clearly not working. And your refusal to change the format of the show and the way you view certain things like the Cruiserweight and Women's Division and the tag divisions, which are all non-existent, even on both shows, a little more so on Raw than SmackDown. SmackDown has been featuring all their talent in a proper way. They're building feuds. They're having consequential matches that aren't just being fought for the sake of being fought, like the Golden Truth and the Shining Stars and stupid shit like that. That's not Monday Night Raw. I don't give a damn if Goldust and Mark Henry are out there or any of these other faces from the past, if it doesn't matter. I'm actually using Goldust in SCW, and he's my Intercontinental Champion right now because Goldust was one of the greatest Intercontinental Champions to ever set foot in the ring in the 90s. Goldust was the premier Intercontinental title holder. His feud with Razor Ramon will go down in history as one of the best. His WrestleMania match versus Rowdy Roddy Piper, the Hollywood Backlot Brawl. This is a man that deserves a lot more respect than what he's getting, and I hate to see how he's being used. Although he makes me smile, he's always made me laugh, but that's because he's talented, and he's going to take what they give them, and he's going to give them gold dust. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. We're going to end this show right there. Please, if you came this far and you're listening and you're still here, make sure, as I asked you at the beginning, to hit that like button before you exit. Go check out the other shows on this channel, most especially our first episode of SCW. We made our own arena. We have our own show logos. It's gonna be great, you guys. Just check it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. If you like wrestling, you're gonna like it. Like I said, I'm calling the action. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Not taking it too seriously, and it's been a friggin' blast. And if anybody wants to get in on the action and give me some ideas, your voice and opinion is always welcome right down there in the comment section. So make sure you leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. I am Nick Nightmare, speaking to you into my man, Blue, the Snowball microphone, with us each and every episode. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Nightmare Room. Come back for more, everybody. I love you guys. Have a good one.